And we're back, Jonathan.
Another episode 17 of the Road to Code.
Episode 17. Man, this pandemic. You know what? I got to tell you, I want to make it official. The pandemic is over.
Yes.
I don't want to say I've been forced, but it's been highly encouraged if I want to keep my job to go work at the office. My job does not have any remote positions, so we've had to go back to the office. Hi, I think you got some news, don't you?
Yes.
What do you got?
I will share my screen.
Oh my goodness.
This is the official Road to Code website.
What?
Well, it's just, it's up and running is what I'm saying. It's not the best thing in the world, but we have categories here of the podcast. So you can go to season 1, and these are all the episodes that we've done. And we got
Is it going to refresh yet, or I don't see?
It's going. It's thinking.
It's still thinking. Oh.
Still thinking.
Oh, look at that. Oh, I like that spinner. That is very cool. So oh my goodness, this is awesome. So if you click on view post, where does it take you?
You can actually listen to the podcast. Right here.
Well, what if I actually want to see it?
See it? I haven't finished working on that one yet. You can watch it on YouTube still.
All right.
Maybe we
can put a link on for YouTube.
Oh yeah, no. We could embed a YouTube video on them or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Just embed the YouTube video. It'd probably be pretty cool.
Yeah,
we'll watch it here.
But yeah, you can watch the actual video. I mean, the actual audio, and then we have the shorts, the birthdays, tech history, and a few episodes of me coding.
Nice.
And then last but not least,
what is that last link right there?
Official merch.
What?
We have our merch website going up,
which is a perfect segue for plugging in our merchandise here.
Yes, we are still doing the giveaway.
What are the rules, Jonathan?
All you have to do to enter in this giveaway is become a subscriber if you're not already one, and that will automatically enter you into the raffle. And if you are a subscriber, all you have to do is like a video
for the month.
Yes, this is a raffle for the month.
All right. And I think we decided that we're just going to do this month after month, right? We're going to give away merchandise every month.
Every month, so someone get free merch.
If you can't wait for the raffle and you want to buy it, you can go to the merch store and pick up a woman's classic tee or a men's classic tee, a tote bag, or a Road to Code coffee mug with our logo on there and our URL, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you are on a budget and all you got to do is, if you have more time than you have money, then you subscribe to the channel and you like one of our videos. And if we got one subscriber and they are the only new subscriber and nobody has liked our videos, chances are that subscriber is going to be the only winner. If that same subscriber wants to win additional merch, like say, for example, that subscriber has a significant other, and on the first month, that one subscriber wins a coffee mug. The following month, that same subscriber, all they have to do is like one of our videos and it re-enters their name. And if that one subscriber is the only one who likes one of our videos, then that subscriber can get a mug for their significant other.
Matching mugs.
Month after month, that one subscriber can continue to win, right?
Yeah. That is the rules.
So I would suggest that let's not let that one subscriber win and actually spread the winnings. You know, all you got to do is subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, just like one of our videos and it'll enter your name into the raffle. And at the end of the month, we're going to write an application, a little console application that will randomize some numbers. We'll assign each person a number, and we'll randomize the numbers, and it'll pick the numbers for us. And yeah, I mean, that's the way we're going to randomize it. That way there's no control over who is determining the winner. We're going to let a program determine the winner, and we'll probably have an episode to write that program. So cool. And that's pretty awesome. So who qualifies
so far?
No, I mean, who can qualify to win?
Anyone can. Whoever subscribes.
So if I live in, say,
yeah.
Kazakhstan, and they have broadband over there. I don't even know if they have broadband in Kazakhstan. They probably do. Who knows?
We are only doing residents of the U.S. in all 50 states.
So you have to live in the U.S. We're only gonna mail to a U.S. address within the 50 states. So this includes Hawaii and Alaska. Even though it'll cost us a little bit more to send it, we'll go ahead and ship to a U.S. 50 mainland addresses. So the 48 states that are all tied together between Mexico and Canada, and Alaska and Hawaii, we'll mail to that.
Awesome.
And then as we gain subscribers, and hopefully we'll make a little bit of money, we'll open up the borders. We'll start expanding the borders a little bit.
Road to code worldwide.
Worldwide, that's right. So, but for now, it's 50 states, 50 U.S. states. So we'll do it that way. And remember, you could win month after month. So there's no restriction to a single win. You can win month after month, and we'll do this every month, starting at the beginning of the month, and we'll call the winner at the end of the month. And so we'll do it that way. Pretty cool.
All right.
That was a nice little plug, Jonathan. Can I plug something in? All right. So there's this cool little website called thinkster.io. They do have training videos, and you can go there and learn how to create an Angular application. You can also go and create a React application, learn how to create a React application. They got JavaScript fundamentals. So if you're not familiar with JavaScript, you can go in there and learn about JavaScript. And they also have this really cool lecture or tutorials on how to create a full stack application. And you have this a la carte menu of picking technologies that work with each other. And you can create a menu, and your front end can be Angular, React, Vue, or Angular JS. And then your back end can be Node, could be Ruby, it could be Python. And I created the C# web API version. So if you go click on the .NET stuff and you go and search for my name, you'll see that you can learn how to create a web API that will work with one of the front ends that you chose, whether you did it in Angular or you did it in React or Vue. It will work with this API just like it does with Django or Ruby on Rails, or any of those technologies for web API. I actually created the web API for .NET. There's a good portion of the course that is free, so you can learn the introductory portion. I'll help you set up the solution. I will help you how to work with NuGet package managers. And we'll go through and set up authentication and authorization part 1 and part 2. So you get 2 free parts there to work with. Security, and there's a lot of stuff that we're working with there. Asynchronous process. We're working with extension methods. You'll learn a little bit about cryptography. We'll learn how to create an account. And once we get into the login section, that's where you'll have to join in and start paying to get the rest of the course, but you get to build the whole API and be able to do it on top of Angular or React or Vue. So it's some pretty cool stuff. Like I said, I am the author of this particular ASP.NET Core Web API tutorial. So check it out over at thinkster.io.
Oh yeah, learn some coding.
All right. So the last episode, we had a little bit of a rough time, Jonathan.
Just a little.
I, you know, I worked on React for about 3 years, and I didn't work on it for about a year. And getting back on it, it wasn't too bad. You know, it was like riding a bicycle. I was able to get right back into it. But I did run into some I stumbled a little bit, and it kind of like, I gotta get back in writing some stuff, just so that I don't completely lose the practice. And you made a comment in the last episode that really brought my attention to the big difference, of how you write React versus how you write JavaScript versus how you write C#. It's like, it's completely different. And JavaScript is already like a beast of its own. There's a lot of weirdness to it just because of the nature of how JavaScript works. And they've done a great job of not making it weird by introducing ES6. ES6 it's still JavaScript. That's the official name is ECMAScript. And so the official name is ECMAScript. It's not JavaScript. JavaScript just happened to be the original name, but they renamed it to ECMAScript. And so ECMAScript, with version 6 and version 7, they did a really nice job of working in some features that is a little bit more friendly to work with, but not every browser supports all the features. So what they have to do is they actually have to use this concept of, it's called polyfill. And even though the language doesn't support it within certain browsers, using this polyfill concept, they make it work with that browser. And what happens is that you'll write the latest and greatest version of the language, and React will compile it, or what they call transpile. So they actually change the latest syntax and they'll downgrade it to what the browser can understand. And by downgrading it, you get some like vanilla JavaScript, a lot more JavaScript. But every browser now understands that particular syntax, that it's transpiling it to. So it transfers it, it downgrades it to some JavaScript. And so when you made the comment, man, this is weird. I thought, I took a step back and I was like, yeah, it is weird. But that's the syntax, and there's ways to improve it. You can improve it, but that's kind of the syntax that you're going to see out in the industry in some cases. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to take a step back and kind of show what is the difference between working in React and working with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because those three technologies are kind of wrapped up in React. Mm-hmm. You're not changing that usage because the only thing that the browser understands is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So even though you're coding in React, what you actually output is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's just through a compilation and transpilation process that it generates these files that the browser can understand. And there's other things that happen in the browser. that then convert all that to WebAssembly. But to us, we're not involved with that process. It just happens automatically. We're still stuck working on the React side. So I wanted to take a step back and dissect the project a little bit and maybe create a page where we can like understand what is happening in the life cycle. Okay. So you want to go ahead and share your screen and we'll take a look at the project a little bit.
All right.
So last week we did the NPM dance, right? Where we went and installed NPM yard. We installed NPM, we installed Node. All that stuff just kind of happens with NPM. But then we installed Yarn, which essentially is NPM, and it's interchangeable when you're using the commands NPM and using Yarn. But Yarn has a couple things where NPM falls short, or NPM it takes a little bit more work. Yarn will help you, shorten up that syntax, and so it's a good thing to install. And so when we installed that, we also installed this utility that Facebook provides. It's called Create React App. And the thing is that if you don't download that tool, you'll have to create your own transpiler. Well, you don't have to create the transpiler, but you have to configure or utilize a transpiler. And that transpiler that we use happens to be a transpiler called Babel, which is a name in itself, which has some historical purposes. I don't know if you remember, there's a story in the Bible where they were building this big tower and they were trying to reach the heavens by building this tower. Mm-hmm. And so God came and just changed everybody's language. And now nobody can understand it. And so they ended up calling that area, they called it Babel, which means that, misunderstood or cannot understand, it's essentially what it means. So the whole thing about Babel is it takes what browsers cannot understand and it converts it into something that the browsers can understand, all browsers. And so Babel is kind of like the reverse of that story, where it takes all these different versions of JavaScript and it converts it into one JavaScript that all browsers can understand. So can I get the picture there?
Yeah.
Okay. And so there's a lot of work behind that. There's a lot of things that you have to go and configure and tweak and all that stuff. So Facebook was nice enough to create this tool called Create React App, which is nicely packaged, to go and do all this, in order to not just convert that JSX that we're building and convert it to vanilla JavaScript, but it's also minifying the JavaScript. So if you consider right now in the US, you hardly have the problem with broadband, right? Because you can pretty much send any data and it's going to get there almost instantly. But in countries where broadband is a little bit more expensive and you're actually still on dial-up or you don't have broadband, you want to be able to send as little as possible. So what happens is that it actually goes through and minifies the JavaScript. So if you have a variable called, this is Jonathan's unique variable name, and it's this big long one, what Babel does, it cuts that down to like A, so it shortens it and it makes the whole JavaScript file that you created, it makes it smaller. So it compacts it and it removes all blank lines and spaces, and pretty much just your whole JavaScript is one big long line. And that ends up compressing it and sends it down the pipe. You add zip on top of that and it becomes that much more smaller. And so that's kind of where the whole concept of using something like Babel to, one is transpile your JavaScript and minify it. and then be able to compress it and send it down to the browser. It becomes a lot more performant and whatnot. And so we use create React app to build our little application. And in our application, we created a component called birth date. So just like you have tags, right? You have an H1 tag, you have a P tag, you have a div. If you open up app.js, we created our own called birthday list.
Mm-hmm.
So birthday list is a tag now. It's a component. It's an HTML component that we created. We still get div, we still get header, but now we can start creating our own components. And Babel goes and said like, oh, you have a custom component. Let me go get the code for that. And let me build out the JavaScript that's going to then inject that code and all that styling into your HTML file. With me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, so, and then if we go to birthday list, let's go into birthday list. We use our table, and we mixed in what looks like HTML in the render method. It looks like HTML,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not HTML. It's actually something called JavaScript XML, or what they call JSX. And in there, you're able to mix JavaScript and XML.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
where I feel like that's where I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
yeah, exactly. Where we start with a return. Well, I mean, if you look at the first line, right, it's a console log. Well, that's JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have on line 21 a return, and then you have open close parentheses, like, what the heck? So those parentheses is just syntactical sugar
Mm-hmm.
that allows you to create this HTML-like language into multiple lines. Otherwise, you have the option of just one line. You know, that's, you're going to return one thing and that's it. But putting the parentheses around it, again, it's syntactical sugar to say whatever I'm returning is going to span multiple lines. Okay. And then so we start writing HTML tags, right? The div, the P, the table, the T head, the TR, the TH, the T body. And then if you go down to like line 35, then we have another JavaScript syntax. We have this dot state dot birth dates dot map. And map is a function of arrays.
Mm-hmm.
And we spin through every element and we receive the arguments lm and idx, which represent the current element that we're working with. And idx is the actual key or the index in that array, right? So it starts with 0 and it goes to, I think we had a total of 15. So it starts from 0 and it goes down to 14. And we have another return in there with another parenthesis. And in here, essentially, we're saying, like, yeah, go ahead and execute this map function and return a TR tag with a bunch of TD tags in there. And then we have more JavaScript in between those TD tags, where we're grabbing the element that we're currently working with, and we go and grab the ID, the full name, the DOB, the DOD, and the notoriety. And we can actually write some more, right? We can actually write more JavaScript inside those curly braces if we wanted to. But all we want to do is just grab the value from the current object it's at. So this map is no different than just doing a for loop for I equals 0 while I is less than the length of something, and then I plus plus. You remember that syntax?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that map, that's essentially what it is. That's the replacement, essentially.
Mm.
But all we're doing is just like, hey, when you run this function, here's what you're going to return. And it kind of looks weird when you have it all in line, but you really do got to separate it in your mind, saying map is a function of its own. So you're actually making another call somewhere else. And so you know, that's kind of the way that works. But it really does a nice job of keeping your HTML compact, because all you got to do is write that return with the TR record one time, and it does it 15 times for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it returns all the records in a table and displays it on the screen. So that's kind of cool. But if you go up to the top, we have this method called component did mount. And I think in our last episode, we console logged the component at the render. So if you scroll down just a little bit so we could see the top of the render, see how we did a console log?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we do we still have, let's go ahead and fire up the API and let's go through this. So go ahead and go to Visual Studio and launch the API. And then go to code. Visual Studio Code.
Oh.
And then I think if you just up arrow, I think you were running that application earlier. Yeah. And then let's go ahead and inspect it. So right click and inspect. Yeah, we got to fix this. And let's go to the console. And so if you look at the life cycle of it, right, we have this render function that outputted an array with nothing. And then we have the component did mount.
Mm-hmm.
And then the render function executes again. And you're like, wait a second, why are we doing this twice? You know? But that's kind of the life cycle of this page, is that the component loads and it fires off that render method. And in that render method, we don't have anything in the array, so it's not going to do anything, right? But then component did mount fires off. And that goes and makes an AJAX call and then returns some data that we then update our state by using that method. Go ahead and go back to Visual Studio Code. We use this.setState to go and update our birthday. So on line 5, you see where it says state equals, and it's an object.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have birthdays, and birthdays is an empty array. So on component did mount, we call setState and we say, hey, go and update birth dates with this new data that we have. And so we give it the data. And internally, React says like, hey, we're updating state. That means we have new information to display. Let's run that render method again. And let's show them something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we get render with an empty array, component did mount, and we get the values in there, and then render again. But this time render has something in the birth dates that then allows it to render. Let's do something cool. Let's see, is there a way to do this? After 920, let's go ahead and press enter. And let's do a for loop. So do for, just so that we can see that delay, okay? So open parenthesis. And then just say var I equals 0 or var j equals 0. I'm not sure if we're using I. We're probably not, but we'll just use j. And then semicolon after 0. And then we'll do j less than, let's do 100,000. This may take it a little bit to count. And then semicolon, j plus plus. And then let's just go ahead and new line after 21. And then tab. And then do a console log. And then inside the log, just inside single quotes, just to pausing for a moment. And it should just log that a bunch of times. And hopefully it creates the delay so that we can see what we're talking about when it displays an empty table and then comes back and then it should fill in that table. Okay. And let's give it one empty line after line 22. Normally, line 22 would be inside of curly braces, but because we only have one line, we're allowed to not have the curly braces. If you have more than one line that needs to be executed inside that loop, you have to put it inside curly braces. But because we only have one line, we can get away with this. All right. Let's go ahead and save it and then go back to the browser. So you can see where we have an empty table and then it fills it in after.
Yeah.
Now I want us to look at something even. Oh, wait, it's still counting. Is this from the previous one?
I think it was. It didn't stop.
Oh, that's interesting. Let's do, I don't think we need to go that high. Let's do 10,000. I think 100,000 was an overkill. Let's save that. And then right click and reforce that refresh. We may have to stop. Go ahead and go back to Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio Code, and do a Control-C in the terminal. And then let's go ahead and go back to the browser for a second.
Still going.
Okay, close that tab. Okay, and then let's go back to Visual Studio Code and go to yarn start. And then when it comes back, go right into that inspect and let's go into the console. All right, let's go ahead and do a hard refresh. See how we have the empty table?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, how did it come up so quick? Oh, I wonder if this whole thing is running asynchronously. That's interesting. So it actually didn't wait. What we need to do, go ahead and close this tab. And let's go to Visual Studio Code. And let's move line 20 and 21. Go ahead and cut those out. 21, 22. Let's cut those out. And let's put that between line 9 and 10. Yeah, okay. So this way, I think things are running asynchronously. So even though the render is executing, it actually goes and says, okay, while you finish rendering, let me go run the component did mount because it really did mount. But in here, what we're going to do is we're going to pause it and we should see it. We should see some delay. Let's go ahead and save this. And let's go down to the terminal, put Control-C, and let's restart it. And then when it comes up in the browser, go ahead and go into inspect. Is it counting?
No.
Okay, let's do a hard refresh.
There we go.
Whoa. It's doing something asynchronously. I guess it just runs it in the browser and it doesn't even. Well, that sucks. It's not doing what I wanted to do to show you what it's actually doing. All right. Not a big deal. We're going to do something different.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and go back to Visual Studio Code. We could leave this running. And we go ahead and remove lines 10 and 11 since it's not doing what we need it to do. And let's create a new component. Let's create a component. So over on source, right click on source, and let's start up a new file. And the name of this file is going to be called, we'll just call it add birth date. And it'll be an uppercase. Is it a lowercase? Are we doing lower cases? Yeah, let's add, yeah, uppercase, add birth date. And it'll be .js. All right. So let's create a new component and let's see what's happening in this life cycle. We're gonna need to import. So type in import, capital R React from, and then inside of single quotes, React, lowercase React. Oh, we have an input. Let's go ahead and start typing in there, Jonathan.
Okay.
Go ahead and put my name.
Okay.
Or maybe your name.
It won't let me type.
What? It won't let you type?
Nope.
Oh, this is interesting because this is going to, if you didn't quite get the life cycle just yet, this should bring the life cycle home to you, okay? The reason it doesn't let you type is because the value of that text box is the value of the state full name. And what is full name right now?
Full name is nothing, right?
Let's go over to add birth date.
Add birth dates.
Add birth dates.
This value or this state full
Yeah,
name.
that's what it's equal to. It's equal to nothing because it's an empty quote. So every time render executes, it says, oh, you want an input value. Let me make it equal to state. And what is state? Nothing. So I'm sorry, what is full name? It's an empty quotes at this point. You'll need a space between that colon and the quote, by the way. On line 5, sorry. Put a space in between the colon and the quotes. Yep. So right now it's empty. So what we need is we need an event that we can listen to while you're clickety-clacking the keys, right? So let's do something here so that we can, because eventually what's going to happen is you're just going to run off the screen. So let's put ID and value on their own line. On line 11, let's go ahead and line 11. ID goes on its own line. And then tab. So you're gonna indent them. Yeah. So this way we can actually go horizontally and we can scroll the screen. And what we want to do is in between line 12 and 13, we're gonna add an event. And we're gonna go ahead and so go ahead and create a new line. And we're gonna add a new attribute called onChange. That's it right there, that first one. It's going to be, yep, that's it, equals. And then inside of curly braces, we're going to put change handler. Let's do something. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring up Visual Studio Code. Let me go ahead and close this. Close this, and add a couple of things I need to close here. Close all. Okay. So this might be a little weird because I'm actually working on a Mac. But it should be pretty fun at the same time. All right. So I'm going to bring up a terminal. And I am going to go into, I have a sandbox. And so I'm going to create a folder called, oh, I can just do it here actually. Create React app. And I'm going to call it sample. Oh, and of course I don't have it. I need to install. Do I have Node? Oh, okay. You're gonna have to share yours again, Jonathan. Let me drive. I don't have it installed. Let me request remote control.
Oh yeah.
Am I in there?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So let me stop this, and I'm gonna stop this. And okay, so IIS Express is stopped, and that's cool. And let me come in here. Control C. Nice. Okay. So let me go over to Bash, and where am I at? So PWD gives you the present working directory. Okay, so I'm going to go into, I think you have a sandbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sandbox, cool. And create React app, and I'm just going to do sample. So this is right out of the box. And let me go over here into open folder. And I'm going to go to the C drive, sandbox, and sample. Select that folder. Let's see where we're at. Still building. Resolving packages. Is it weird to watch your computer do something without you actually touching the keyboard?
Yeah. Like you're hacking into the system.
And a lot of stuff going on here. Okay, cool. So in here, I'm doing Control tilde. Control tilde. Okay, I have to go into the terminal. And we're going to do a new terminal. And we're going to switch over to a git bash. Excellent. All right, so in here, I should be able to do LL. Nice. And I should be able to do yarn start. So we got the console. All right, so let's go back to Visual Studio. And it's going to source. So we haven't really done anything special here. All I'm doing is just, I'm going to work with what they have here.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a function app. Function app, index. All right, so I'm going to create a new file. new file and call it form1.js. And so we're going to import React from React. Whoa, that wasn't supposed to be there. All right. So I'm going to create a new class called form1, which extends react.component. And so I'm going to set my state to be equal to an object. And in that object, I'm going to have a field called name, and it's just going to be an empty string. And I'm going to create my render, which is a method, and we're going to return a div. And in that div, we're going to have input. And the type is going to be equal to text. And the value is going to be equal to this.state.name. Oh, I gotta put it inside of curly braces. And onChange is going to be equal to this.handleChange. All right, so that's kind of the basics right there. I'm going to do handle change is equal to EVT fat arrow function. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say console log. Oops, that was completely incorrect.
Handle is spelled wrong too.
I was testing you, Jonathan. I don't think I can do this. Is that right? Yeah, that's right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say constant val is equal to evt.target.value. And so in here, I should be able to call it from the change and console log it. And that's really all I want to do. And I'm going to put that inside index.js. So index.js, yeah. And we're going to do form1. I may have to import this. Import form1 from form1. And I'll save this. And if I come back over here, form1 does not contain default export. Of course it doesn't. I didn't do it. So I need to come back to my form1 and I need to export this. Export default form1. Now we're cooking with fire. And so, where's the text box? Let me change this index. Index? No, app. I'm going to get rid of this whole thing here. And instead of inside the index, I'm going to put this inside the app. So we'll get rid of this as well. And I will do form 1. Import. Actually, you know what? This should have come up. I think we need to install a particular tool that will bring it in. So we'll do a manual import for now. So import form 1 from form 1. All right, so let's save this and save this. And if we come back over here, and we'll do a hard refresh.
Yeah.
All right, now we're cooking with fire. So if I press A, handle change A, so it's there. B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. There's your whole alphabet. So we're handling the change, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about it. I just did the whole alphabet. Let's go back to form 1. And we should be able to call this dot set state and say name is equal to val. Oh, wait a second. My bad. I know what we did wrong, Jonathan.
What?
We weren't supposed to put it inside of the inside the curly braces. That's what it was. I thought, wait a second, this looks weird now. So now,
There it is.
because we're putting it inside of curly braces, it was creating an object for us, which is not what we want. We wanted just a value in there. And that's what was throwing it off. Okay. See what happens when you don't work with React for over a year? Like the concept is still there, but you forget how the objects are treated. So let me go ahead and give you control again. How do I? Well, is there a way for you not to take away the? Go ahead and take over.
Abort. Cool.
And go ahead and close the browser. And go ahead and change folders to, man, those small details, that just kills me. I still get confused between the JSX and the JavaScript and when to use the curly braces and all that good stuff. You're going to have to fire up the web API as well. Otherwise, it's going to crash. Yeah, and then fire up the application.
What did I do?
Looks like there's a problem. Oh, this is PowerShell.
Oh.
Open up the other terminal. So go to the little plus sign, the little down arrow, and open up Git Bash.
There we go.
Now run it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and open up that the console on the inspect tab. So the whole point of this is that every time you update state, it's going to execute that render function. So that render function is just constantly just updating. But here's what's cool about it is that it doesn't update. It doesn't redraw the whole screen. Remember I told you earlier how you have the actual DOM in the web and then React has a copy of that in memory and it's constantly just rewriting it over and over in memory and it's super fast. And once you're done, then it looks at the differences and it says, oh, I'll update this and then that's it. You know, because redrawing the whole DOM would take time. So let's go and open up a nice little tool that we can see what is being updated. So over here on the right-hand side, you see at the bottom, there's an X. Go ahead and click on that X to close that tab. Okay, now under performance, let's try the little the three dots in between the gear and the X. Let's look at there for a moment. No, I'll go to more tools. Yeah. More tools. And let's go down to rendering. And let's go ahead and click on that first one, Paint Flash. Okay, go ahead and do a hard refresh on this page. Okay. And you're gonna see what's happening.
Whoa, okay.
So go ahead and start typing in there.
Whoa.
Oh, we need to remove the debuggers. So let's go back into code and remove all the debuggers. And save it. And you may have to do a hard refresh.
All right.
So you see how the only thing that's flashing, every time you press a key, go ahead and start over with your name and just press one key slowly.
Okay.
Yeah, really slow. You see how that's the only thing that's being updated.
Yeah.
Whatever is being flashed. So in memory, the whole DOM gets replaced, but it happens so fast in memory that you can't even tell. That once it does a comparison, it says, oh, the only thing that I need to update is that right there. And that's what's flashing. It's whatever is being re-rendered is flashing. So if you just press a key, you see it only refreshed that box.
Mm-hmm.
It only re-rendered that box. That's all it's doing. And so this is a good way to tell what is being re-rendered. And this is what makes React so fast is that you're not updating the whole screen. You're updating just a specific part of the screen. And this is where React just kind of is very quick when it does this, you know, because it does a lot of the work in memory. And once it has to do it in the browser, it does such a small change. And so every time you press a key, you fire off that change handler. That change handler updates the state with that set state. And it says, oh, our state has changed. Let me rerun that render method. And it reruns that render. So every time you change state, render fires. Change it again, render fires. And it does it in memory. It redraws the whole DOM in memory and then compares to what's in the browser and says, oh, let me go update that. Oh, let me go update that. Let me go update this. And it just does these little updates that really the browser can then thrive in performance.
Cool.
Pretty cool stuff, huh?
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap this up. But in our next episode, what I want to do, you remember how we did the console application where we can create, we can read all the records, we can read one record and we can edit that one record and we can also delete? We're going to do the same thing with this. But once we do that, what I think I'm going to task you with is making it look pretty.
All right.
And I'm going to give you the head start. I think we'll do all the CRUD first, and then I'll help you style one page. We'll include Bootstrap.
Okay.
You're familiar with Bootstrap, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll include Bootstrap, and then with Bootstrap, I'll let you take over the rest of the site, and then we're going to release this. And we're going to let the crowd just go and start entering information. We'll have to monitor it and make sure that it's PG-13 at least. You know what I mean?
We don't get one of those names like like on The Simpsons where Bart makes a joke and it's like Harry Nutsack or something like that.
Oh. Yeah, if we use the initials HPN. wait. Yeah, HPN. So Harry Ness, and his middle initial is P. Yeah. We'll have to be careful with that. But yeah, that's essentially. So our next task for our next episode is create all 4 screens, or maybe 3 screens. I don't know how many screens it's going to be, but we're going to be able to create, save it, render the list, update a record, and delete a record. And so that'll give us the whole CRUD on this. And then what we'll do is we'll start creating a website where we can actually have some security built in, some authentication, so people can create an account. They can log in, and then they can enter their information, and then we'll display it. Well, it may not be real information, but it'll be some information. And we'll put some notes in there to like, hey, this isn't all that secured, so don't put any sensitive information. Make up a name, maybe we'll have some kind of theme or something where we'll let people just enter cartoon characters or make up their birthdays and stuff or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Cool. But that's kind of how this whole thing comes together. I mean, the whole life cycle of React and what it takes and all the weirdness around it, and it makes for some really responsive websites. I mean, this thing's just like super fast, and you're going to see once we start with navigation, man, you're going to see like, wow, this is really cool. Like, it's just constantly just refreshing just small parts of the site itself. But that paint flashing is what's really cool, so that you can see what's being rendered or re-rendered.
It's cool that it does it on the sidebar too.
Yeah. So that's what it has to draw. So cool. I think this is a good place to end this episode.
All right.
Until next time.
On the road to code.